Joe Kenn, back on the podcast. Bro, you're closing in on 10 appearances. It's got to be close to 10 if it's not 10. How you doing, man? Great to see you.
Yeah, I don't know if it's 10, but we were just talking. I was on one of the very first ones, 2009, when I was at Louisville, and now it's 2026.
It's 17 years of podcast goodness, man.
27 years.
27?
No.
17.
Yeah. I'm thinking
27. Damn, that's longer than I've been coaching house.
Yeah,
you still got a few years on me there.
Yeah, 17. My fault. God. Well, that tells you tells you how long I've been doing it.
I love it, man. Bro, what's new? You were telling me the Arnold. Talk to me about the Arnold. Let's just start there, and then we'll see where this takes us.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think most people know, if not, after I got out of coaching team sports, I've jumped into private sector. I got a great job with Dynamic Fitness and Strength, allows me to travel a nation and attend events and allow me to continue to do some things through Big House Power, one being some coaching and mentorship. And a few years back, my good friend Brian Shaw reached out to me to help guide him through a chase for the 5th World's Strongest Man title. So I got to coach Brian the last 2 years of his competitive career, and that ended up with a win at the Strongest Man on Earth. Good way to bow out, being called the strongest man on earth. And then I was trickling around. You know, I'd met a lot of people. It was a really good space for me. As you know, my background, I love that stuff. And the fact that I was actually now behind the scenes with it was just a tremendous opportunity. Totally different understanding of being a strength coach for a individual strength athlete, where strength now really matters. Like, I learned a lot more about absolute strength versus building strength for an athlete that plays a team sport versus building strength for an athlete who has to compete at a high level, and they're being evaluated on how much they can lift is a totally different pressure. And I was fortunate enough that I was asked, was about going into the year 2025. So that around that November, December, another professional strongman, Tom Evans, who happened to be a strength coach also at the University of Delaware, reached out and asked if I would join his team kind of as an assistant coach. He already had a great coach, Adam Dirks, who was a former World's Strongest Man competitor. And I made sure that that was okay with Adam to, you know, make sure he's good with me coming on. And so I came on as an assistant, and then we went through World's Strongest Man prep together. Tom didn't have the results he had wanted, and it's a very different event for the bigger, statically strong guys. Like this year in particular, we did not get invited this year, but this would have been a better event for the bigger guys. Like the bigger guys who got invited, I feel really confident that some of them can break through and make the finals. But after that event, Tom did some deep, let's say, soul searching, I guess a lot of people call it.
Yeah.
And made a decision to shake up his team. And part of that was bringing me as the head guy to run oversee what I felt was in his best position to achieve the goals he wanted to. And with that being said, I put together a team for him. So I brought in, I think you may know Chad Coy. You know Chad?
Yeah,
So
I know of him. Yeah, we've interacted, but I've never met him. Yeah.
So I've known Chad forever, competed in his strongman event. The Central USA in 2009, right when I met you. And then we've been kind of on and off friends. And then I started actually writing his programs for him. And he is very well versed in the events. I know the events, but like I tell people, I'm a strength and conditioning coach for strongman. I'm not a strongman strength and conditioning coach. I think there's a difference. So I know what my skill set is, and I can teach and I can evaluate the events, but when you're not competing at that kind of level, you need a little different eye.
For sure. Well, and there's nuance, I'm sure, right?
Yeah, and there's certain events that I've done enough to know what that should feel like, even at my loads. But then there's certain events that are very, very unique that you need an expert's eye. And Chad was willing to come on as the assistant coach. And Chad trains Trey Mitchell, who's a top 5 guy in the world. Like Tom Evans right now, based off of who wants to evaluate him, is probably safe to say 10 to 15, maybe closer to 10, depending on who you ask for or what show it is.
Yeah, sure.
Like people, he's saying this guy's top 10, but he doesn't get invited as 25 25 people to the world's strongest man. There's some different qualifying things with that. But so we build out a plan. I bring in a nutritionist for him, and I bring in a mental coach. His mental coach is Fighter.
Yeah.
So so Fight does his mental. Another one of my former assistants, John Heck, does his nutrition. And then, so I've got guys who know me, so they know how I'm going to operate, and they're going to know what my expectations are. So that being said, we build out a plan, and we're rolling into prep for the Strongest Man on Earth, which is an 8-event contest. Brian tries to make it the hardest, heaviest event in the yearly calendar. This one might have been the hardest, heaviest events in the history of Strongman across 8 events.
Really? And what were they? Do you remember?
It was, let's see. Yeah, now you're going to ask me. Max trap bar deadlift.
My gosh.
Max log. It was a carry and drag with a 800 plus frame carry to arm over arm at 700 pounds. It was a max keg throw for weight. So a 15-foot high, say, pole vault, and you're throwing the heaviest keg you can over. We had, let's see, the last event 5 was a front carry into a power stairs, 5 power stairs at 500, 550, 600, or some kind of ridiculous. Well, it was some kind of ridiculous.
Yeah.
And then, golly, what else was that? I can't remember them all. Was there a dumbbell?
I know
think there was but I mean, it was, I can't remember them all now, but here was the thing is, the whole event, from the top to bottom, it was a very evenly distributed amount of competitors that were neck and neck. Like from 3rd through 8th, the whole day was within 3 to 5 points.
Wow.
And we were in the mix the whole time. We had a very good game plan and we had very good goals. But going into the final event, this is how close it was. I think Lucas Hatton was in first at 81.5 points. Evan Singleton was in second with 81 points, and Tom was in third with 80. So Tom could have actually won the show. And then 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th were in 3 points of that, to be honest with you.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And the way it shook up was Evan Singleton won the show. Lucas Hatton came in second, and Tom got his first international world-class podium at the biggest, baddest event. Like I told him, if you never podium again, you can literally say you're the 3rd strongest man on earth.
No doubt. That's crazy.
So then we have about a couple of weeks off. We roll right into the Rogue. He's tied for 3rd going into the last event. And he winds up on a tough event for him. His stones is something we got to get better at. Had a mishap with the last stone, wind up 5th. Then we roll into this year's Arnold with really good opportunity to podium again. And sure enough, from 3rd through 7th, the points were like this. Anybody could roll it with a good event. And the last event happened to be a sandbag medley where you ran a 300-pound, a 350, and a 375-pound sandbag up a 15, 13-yard ramp. You dumped it over. Well, everybody was like, whoa, this is going to be a tough one. But we trained that's sandbag shuttle runs is our number one conditioning drill we use. So for us, we were like, this could be a really good way for us to end if the rest of the events go as well as they did. So to start from scratch, we actually had this is how good the competition's getting as far as the depth of strongman. So we go into the elephant bar deadlift, the first event. That's a premier event at the Arnold.
Yep.
We have Tom's previous event best on that was 876. So we open at 831. He goes 881 in PRs, and he goes 911 in PRs. That's good enough for 6th, and that's only good enough for 6th place. Right?
Oh my God. That's crazy.
Yeah. So then we go to the next one is the dumbbell event. He PRs in the dumbbell with a 274-pound circus dumbbell for 1 rep. So now now we're in 2 events, 3 PRs down. The last event of day 1 is the tombstone to shoulder, which is a 409-pound natural stone that you've got to pick off the ground. Good luck with that.
Yep. Right.
Lap it into your your thighs and then get it up to your shoulder and then free the other arm.
Oh my gosh.
He's never done that before. I think he's one of only 13 guys to actually get one rep.
Wow.
He gets one rep. Two guys did 3, guy did 2. So he winds up like 6th place in that event. So you walk out of day 1 with 4. We had 4 PRs, and I think we're sitting in 6th or 7th after day 1. It's like, I mean, what are you supposed to do? So then day 2 was a hard one. You had to do a duck walk, a 409-pound stone, and then a 309-pound stone onto a sled, which was about, I think they said close to 2,000 pounds or something ridiculous. Then you had to backwards drag that for, I can't remember the distance. Tom didn't finish the event, nor did a lot, but we still snuck a 5th place finish out of that. So we wound up saving some points there. Then the last 2 events we knew were going to be really good events for us. For the next event was the Austrian Oak. Now, back in the day when Big Z and Brian and Halfdoor and those guys were in their prime, the Oak weighed 205 kilograms. So that's 440, 450-ish in pounds.
Yeah.
And so as the years go by, the wood dries out, so it gets lighter. So now it weighs like 430, 195 kilograms. So it's hard to judge like the world record in reps, but if you do the Austrian Oak for reps, you're a boss. And this shows you how much the depth is. So Tom goes out early, and he's one of the better pressers in the world. He hits 4 reps, which is monstrous.
Yeah,
we're sitting in really good points. Lucas Hatton, who may be another one of the best pressers in the world, he does 4 reps. And then Trey Mitchell, who may be the most statically strongest guy in the field, does 5. So here we are. We hit 4 reps, and we only get joint second. Like, so we get 8.5 points. Where so going in the last event again, we're sitting in like tied for 5th with 3 other people. And during that event, he strained his pec and bicep in his right arm. And then we smoked the first 2 bags. And on the last bag, the 375, he heard it pop, couldn't get it loaded right. And we wind up not finishing the event and had to get distance. And so we wound up joint 7th and our split at 2 bags was extremely fast. I think if we were able to finish that, man, it might have been, again, it could have been a podium. It could have been a 4th or 5th. It doesn't work out that way. It's competition. We have to now rebuild the engine a little bit, and we have some time off now, which worked out well for him because without getting that World's Strongest Man invite, he didn't have to try to train through an injury or decline the invite. And again, the strongman sport, I've always been a big fan and infatuated with high levels of strength. Now being really into it and building, now it's like I'm rebuilding respect and credibility in a whole different era of strength where for most people who know in team sports setting, I'm held in a pretty nice regard. Very humbling to say that. But here's a different genre of strength where, I'm a rookie. No, those people don't really know who I am until they find out who I am. I mean, like one strongman I like, Bobby Thompson, said when I show up with Brian Shaw at World's Strongest Man in 2022 or 2023, and everybody knows who's that with Brian because Brian's very close to the vest with who he's going to let in his circle. And then as people found out, they're like, oh, that's a dude. Like that's a dude, right? Like last year at World's Strongest Man, one of the kids, I call them kids, they're all younger than me. I'm rolling in Tom's bag, his event bag, and one of them goes, man, who's the greatest strength coach of all time carrying bags? How's that?
That's right.
How's that going for you? I go, hey man, that's part of the job. So yeah, the strongman game from the last time we discussed has been a big part of kind of keeping, let's face it, man, we all want identities, right? And not that I had lost an identity as a coach, but if you're not coaching, you got no coaching identity if your hands and you're not meeting the game. So I've invested a lot of time in learning strongman, and I pride myself on being a pretty solid programmer, to say the least.
For sure.
I've got the I've got the template now. Like I talked to me and Tom were like, look, we found out we've got a winning template.
Yep.
Now we just got to crank things out as it comes to relationship to what we need to do to get you. Like our goals would be on podiums and our ultimate goal is, like I told him since I met him, our goal is when we go into the last event, we want to have an opportunity to podium.
Yeah,
Well, we're 3 for 3 for that, and we've hit one podium. Now it's like, all right, now we got to go into these meets like we're chasing the win. Like, we're chasing the win. We're getting too close not to start having that type of mindset after what we've been able to do. And he continues to get better. Like Chad said something, and I don't know, it's close to this. I don't know if it's exactly this, but we've coached in 3 events as a team. That's 20 individual, 3 comps, 20 different individual events. And he's PR'd in like 17 or 18 out of 20.
Yeah, that's crazy.
When you're still seeing that type of, and his static strength has gotten ridiculously strong. Like I knew, because I knew we were going to have a good log clean and press when he strict pressed the 430 out of the rack.
Like, that's crazy.
To strict press 430 with a 12-inch log when the center of gravity is way out in front of you is a pretty impressive feat. So we've got more to go. And as you know, in this day and age of online and virtual coaching, a lot of that takes place through Zoom meetings as well as a lot of video watching, which is good and bad. I mean, there's a lot of times where I tell him when he does have a bad day, I don't know if it would have been a bad day if I was on site. I might have been able to make different, because like I know when I used to fly out to train with Brian, when he flew me out, that was some of the best sessions he had.
Yeah, sure. Well, it's different, right? It's different. You got that live dynamic interaction. Yeah, it's just a different environment.
I laugh because the last couple of times I've been in the coaching environment in the last 3 years, I lose my voice right away because I'm not coaching all the time. So like I lost my voice for day one, and then doing another event where I had to coach a group. I was with Luke Kuechly, and he goes, "Damn, Doggy, you getting soft." I go, "Yo, Brian coached a group in 5 years." So I've got another event coming up with Luke that I got to start just yelling and screaming when I'm working with myself to get my voice right so I don't look like I'm soft.
For sure. Well, talk to me because, man, I've followed Strongman. Like, okay, first off, I think I don't want to make us sound old, but we are from a different era in the sense that we were just, I think you and I were both universally just enamored with strength, right? Powerlifting, Olympic lifting, strongman, like the grip stuff. Like you're a strength guy, right? So one of the things that I don't understand about strongman is like, do you know going in what the events are, or do they just literally you pull up and they're like, hey, here's the 8 events we're doing? Like, how does that work? Because there are so many different events I feel like they can pull from, right? Like powerlifting, you're going to squat, bench, dead every meet. Right? How does it work in in strongman? Because I'm not really clear.
So early on, it was like that. You showed up and here's the events from what I've gathered. Now they do give you the events, but it's very random. Different shows might put out events, 4, 6, 8 weeks out. It's getting a little better, but I know that was a whole bunch of things. When they're going to put the events out, when they're going to put the events out, when they're going to put the events out. But now it's getting to a point where, like for us, in all the events we've trained for, we knew what events we had to train for when we started comp prep. Like,
okay.
That's that for us, depending on how we write the script, that's with the comp being like, say, week 0.
Yep.
Week 1, we go back 12 weeks from that or 10. So the comp would be week 10 or 12. And then we count back from there. And then I consider the training in 2 phases. We have a capacity phase where we're doing a lot of prep. If there's any like multi-event types of apparatus, like a medley, we will separate the 2 events or the 3 events and work on those individually just to build up some endurance and be able to do more conditioning type of things. And then when we get to what I call the push phase, now we'll bring all those events. Now you're training the event. For example, on that carry and drag, in the capacity phase, we're going to work carries separately
Yes.
and we're going to
Yes.
work drag separately because I don't want to burn them out. And then when we
Yeah,
get to the
sure.
push phase, now we got to train the event.
Right, for sure.
So we do some things like that, and then the sets and reps of certain events will change as we get to the push phase. But the script is capacity work, more of the volume, heavy, more conditioning type of things early. Then as we get close and we add more reps to the event type work, and we'll never really go over 3 full runs of an event because the amount of effort it takes to do some of these events.
For sure.
Where if we're doing a medley and we're splitting it up, I can do, 5 sets of carries and 5 sets of drags separately, but when it comes together, it's a little bit
Yeah.
it's a little bit different, and that's some of the stuff that I just finished, and it's gone pretty well for me, a book, Conditioning for Strongman, and people go, "Why'd you do a book for Conditioning for Strongman?" I'm like, "That's because that's what I'm good at." Like I said,
Right.
I'm a strength and conditioning coach for strongman, so we talk about different types of capacity. Like there's a difference between the rest intervals early on for work capacity versus power capacity. Like you could do the same drill, like say we're doing farmers walks as a conditioning, but how you set up some of the distances and how you set up rest times can determine whether you're training for power capacity, work capacity, hybrid capacity, repeated power capacity. So like
Yeah.
all that stuff is in the book. So you can, it's designed for coaches. Like I didn't put in like, here's week one, right? Here's conditioning
Right,
for
right,
week
right.
one.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is like, hey man, that's for you and your coach to figure out. But here's
Yeah.
things you can think of and certain things that we are doing, but I'm not giving, like I told Tom, I'm not giving them our script. That's our
No.
script.
No, absolutely.
I want
Absolutely.
these people thinking about things because that's what I do. Like I like, if I like what somebody's done, and you know this because I've done it with the 7 R's, I'm going to dissect the hell out of that and figure out, all right, I'm gonna take Mike's stuff and I'm gonna put this on a whole nother level for me. And
For sure.
our entire PAP is based on ours. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we've got 7 R's, I think, that you could utilize in the PAP before we even get to the main session of the resistance work. And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
like what you call resiliency is a lot of the back end work capacity conditioning we're doing at the
Yeah.
end of the work. So like there's
Yep.
a lot of things going on. Like when we start, it's kind of a transition from PAP to the main section lift, but we'll start with reactive work. We'll do long jumps to box, med ball throws into the walls. So we're
No, that's
doing
cool.
like so that reactive work I've kind of used that as a hybrid transition from PAP to the resistive work, but really it fits into PAP. But I'm using the term that Galpin, like post activation, post activation performance enhancement. I'm not
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
the post activation potentiation because the way I'm utilizing in sets and reps, it's not like, to me that potentiation is almost like a contrast method
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
little bit.
Yeah.
So for me, it's
That's
like,
a good way to
all
look
right.
at it.
So for me, I'm looking to continue to enhance performance. So we're going to jump first.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
We're going to
No, I
fire
like
some
that.
stuff up, and then we're going to move on to the big lifts of the day. And then depending on how that is, we may do some event work. We do event work front end and back end too. So it's a lot. It's a lot of work. But like I tell people, well, you got Tom in the weight room 2 or 3 hours. Well, that's no different than football practice.
Yeah,
That's
I
no
mean, that's
different
their
than
sport.
basketball practice. Yeah, lucky
That's their
for him, the
sport.
weight. Yeah, like I'm not going to ask a football player to be in there 3 hours.
Right,
He's already been to practice for 3 hours. I got
right.
about, depending on what part of the year it is, but if it's in season and he's coming in after practice, that's 35 to 40 minutes I'm asking of those guys.
Yeah,
Like, hey
yeah,
man, let's get this thing done. Let's knock this stuff out. So yeah, so we do know the events. There is no specifics. Hey, you got to give us the events 10 weeks out. And they really don't have to give it to you. But in this day and age, when it comes from safety and health, it'd be nice
yeah,
to know what the loads are. Like sometimes
yeah,
they'll give you the events and they won't give you the loads. So now you got to figure out, okay, what did they do last year? But generally you can know that, like I've been in it enough to know that if you're going to do a log press clean clean the press for reps. It's probably going to be between, it could be as light as 140 kilograms, but it's going to be between 150 to 160 kilos. If you're going to do a deadlift for rep, it's going to be between like 350 and 360 kilos, 750 to right under 800 pounds.
Yeah.
They're squatting for reps this year. Generally, that's somewhere in the 750 range. It may be a little lighter because I think it's in the group stages and not the finals. But it's gonna be a 700 plus, and generally it's gonna be on an axle bar with giant friggin' uh,
Tires
cylinders
or
and stuff.
something. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that throws off a little bit of the differences. Max deadlifts. The thing about strongman is a deadlift isn't a deadlift and a press isn't a press because it's all factored in on the type of bar you use and
Yep.
the pull height. Like you can pull from 9 inches, a small deficit a lot of times on some of these, to a 13-inch to an 18-inch. A log press
Wow.
to an
Yeah.
axle press to a behind the head push jerk with an
That's
Olympic bar.
crazy.
Then you got the single arm dumbbell, whether it's a circus dumbbell or a different type of round dumbbell or the sear dumbbell. I mean, and that all sits different on your arm, on your shoulder.
Yeah.
So now
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
elbow and tricep come into play. And, so there's a lot of intricacies that you really got to dial in, and you have to be willing to know what you know and what you don't know. And
Yeah.
that's where I think that I've done a good job of leaning on Chad and Tom. Like I told
Yes.
Tom, just like I told Brian, hey, when it comes to this stuff, you're the head coach. I'm the head strength coach. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
you're the one out there. If you don't think something's right, you got to say something because I'm not the one out there. I'll take the heat if we lose. I'll take the heat if we get hurt
Yep.
because I'm going to protect the guys. But in
Yep.
the end, if you don't tell me you don't like something, or you don't tell me I've done it this way in the past and had good success,
Right.
you're not helping me write the program.
Yeah. No, I
Like
like that.
once, and you got to have some ownership. Like with Brian, it was a lot easy for him to have ownership because of where he stood and where he was at in his career. But like when I first worked with Tom, I wrote the whole script and we went over it in depth. He had his input, but now he writes his own PAP. Like I'm like, look, man, you know the drills now. You know what you
Right.
need to improve on, and
Yep.
you know what you need to get ready to do this work now that we work together. You
Yep.
write the PAP because
Yeah, I
then
like that.
you can't say, this. You wrote it. And
Right.
like
Right.
right now, the way I write the deals, he's in what we call our rejuvenation stage, which is when we do a tier system based workout. I said, look, man, you write the rejuvenation stage the next two
Right.
weeks and send it over to me. And I'll, if I have any questions or anything that I want to make note of, I will. And I didn't. I only have one exercise he's using that I'm not familiar with. I think I know what it is, so he'll send me videos of that. And then once we get into what I call now the on season, that fight got me turned on to because there are no off seasons, and on season is you're always working on something, right?
Right.
So
No, I
what are
like
we
that.
working on?
Yeah.
And I never liked off season anyway. When everybody goes, everybody talk about off season, and then there's t-shirts. There is no off season, right? Like, yeah,
Right.
I know that. Yeah, you're always working on something. So it made sense for
Yes.
me to steal that from fight. So we use on
Hmm.
season work. Because in the strength sport like strongman, because the calendar, like you could literally go through the entire calendar, and if you get invited to the right events, you don't have an on season. You're literally going from like these guys that are going to World's Strongest Man, they get done with the on. And I know for Tom, it's at least 2 weeks after event that he needs.
Sure. Yeah, I can only imagine.
But World's Strongest Man was 6 weeks from the time the Arnold left. So literally, you got to get right back into training for
Yeah.
the recognized most important title in strongman. And then
Yes.
from there, once that's over, a lot of these guys will get overseas invites. And then
Yeah.
the next real big one, because Brian's not having his event this year, the next big one is the Rogue that'll probably be in late October. But I mean,
So how
but
many
some of
times
these,
in a year? How many times
depending
in a
on
year are they competing?
it depends on the invites. Like, you could go anywhere from 1 to 2 to 7.
Damn, that's crazy.
And that season gets quick. Like there's a point if you're doing multiple Giants live shows that are overseas, you may really be just rolling from one event to the next with just recovery.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's
Maybe
crazy.
touch
So,
the
like in
event.
powerlifting, you might get at top level, you might only have to compete twice in the year, right? You go to
Yeah,
nationals, get your bid, go to worlds.
hit
That's
the
it.
bricks.
7 times in
Yeah,
a year doing that. That is
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. Well, the same thing with like Olympic lifting, right? Go hit the
Yeah,
Arnold, qualify for a USA Open, and that qualifies you hopefully for a senior level event. Yeah, it's it. But you got to remember, these guys, for some of these guys, are trying to make a living at it.
for sure.
And the tough thing is when you're in an invite, it's a you have to do well to get invited. But then if you don't, if your job or your situation at home doesn't allow you to accept some of these invites, they'll hold it against you. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying good or bad or different, but for Tom Evans not to get invited to World's Strongest Man just tells you that the qualifying system and the invite system isn't set up for individuals who coach college football.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because he
Yeah.
can't. There's, I mean, he's very fortunate he can do the events he can do, but
Right.
the events and the events that tie directly into qualifying for World's Strongest Man, it's hard for him to get to. They're all overseas, and a lot of times you get called with a 2-week notice. Come on, man, you're not podiuming anyway.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So
So,
it's a tough game.
yeah, no, I get it. So, I would assume, right? And again, I'm 1,000% willing to be wrong here, but I would assume that even though there isn't a quote unquote off season, you're always training certain qualities, right? Or certain movement patterns, right? Like you probably always have to have a squat, a hinge. Like,
Yeah.
how does that look like? And again, you don't have to give me all the goods, but I
No,
would
yeah.
love to hear like what are the big ones that you always have to keep in, right? Like a squat, a hinge, an overhead press, carry.
Yes. So we're going to always have some type of deadlift, always, because no matter what, you're going to deadlift in a meet, whether it's
For sure.
reps or for a max. Now,
Yep.
the great thing about training strongman when it comes to the squat is the squat. I'll circle around once in a blue moon. Like this is the first time a squat has been in a competition in maybe 5 years, and I'm talking about all competitions,
That's
like
crazy.
all of them. So the squat is your primary supplemental lift. It's
Mm,
not a
okay.
foundational lift. Like your
Okay.
foundational lifts are deadlift and overhead press. Like
Yeah.
we we will not do any horizontal pressing once we get to comp.
Yeah.
But we do emphasize a boatload of horizontal pressing before comp in our on season because we'll do a lot more close grip type work with a neutral bar because triceps, you can't have strong enough triceps in
Yeah.
strongman when it comes to overhead pressing a log, overhead pressing an axle, and specifically overhead pressing a dumbbell. Because, like
Mm.
Tom mentioned, pressing a dumbbell, if you look at the uniqueness of how big the bell is, it's almost like a shot put.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And if you see the way it sits a lot of time, you better, I mean, the pressing part is really almost out of it. It's almost like doing a heavy single arm dumbbell extension
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
with a little
Yeah.
push press in it. So we do a lot. Like again, I don't want to give away too much of our secrets, but I'm gonna probably wind up doing it at a seminar with Brian. We're doing for Strongman, but we prioritize triceps hard. Like
Yeah. For sure.
if you saw where it was placed in our upper body sessions, you'll know how much we believe tricep
Right.
strength. And I'm not talking about the foo-foo tricep stuff. I'm talking about what we consider strength building tricep exercises. The foo-foo stuff comes in the readiness part of our PAP or for maybe some finisher work if we're doing finisher work. But generally, the triceps, what I call the bodybuilding high volume stuff with cables, that's going in PAP, but presses, dumbbell work, extensions, that stuff there, that's the key towards upper body success to me in strongman is
Huh.
tricep strength.
Do you remember? I'm sure you do. The old Louis stuff. And I was always confused when I first got into it because I wasn't in the kind of, like triple ply denim shirts that they were using at the time. But do you remember his split would be like a press and then it was triceps.
That's
Like
what we
it
use.
wasn't back anything else. And I was like,
That's
yo, and then I saw the gear that they're lifting in. I'm like, oh, I get it. Cause you get to here, you better have some strong ass triceps to finish those reps.
yeah, and that's why they did all that board pressing and all that other
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, hey, on dynamic effort day, they did heavy 5 and 4 board presses for fives. Yeah, but and that's how we built. So yeah, we do it very similarly. Like we do our big lift, and then it's right into triceps, and then it's everything else. That's how. So yeah, our template is very much built similar towards what I learned from Louis,
Yeah.
because you don't want to have your limiting factor be your lockout. Like
Yeah. For
and
sure.
the way we're training now, where we emphasize peak velocity versus average in all of our lifts, we have to be able to drive through lockout. Like I've told people now, with the success we're having collecting the numbers we have, one, it's an effect way more effective utilizing both peak and average to really determine people's loads when you get into those heavy triples and singles types work. And then, but it also, because of the way we coach reps, every rep we do with our big lifts is an RPE of 10. Like that's why I don't like when people go, "Hey, what was the RP?" I still don't know what that means. Like I
Yeah.
don't know
Sure.
if you told me, "Hey, man, what was the RP on that?" I don't know. I just lifted the weights as best I could. Where we going next? Or like reps in reserve. Our reps in reserve are our next set. Unless we're
Yeah.
training for a rep test, our reps in reserve is our next set, because we have qualified, distinct rest intervals for every set and rep we do. So if we do 5 reps, we're going every 5 minutes on the 5 minutes on a running clock. If we do 3 minutes, it's every three. If we do 2 minutes, it's every two. The only time that'll change is if we're in comp phase and we have to hit heavy doubles. I'll push that out, but my athlete is more than conditioned to take
Yeah.
heavy weights. Like, for example, in powerlifting, we have the round system. So
Yep.
you're going to get, depending on how many people are in your flight, how many minutes you're getting between.
Yeah.
Well, in a lot of times in strongman, it's raising bar, it's rising bar, because they don't want to
Yep.
have to go. So
Yeah.
if you're in a position where your lows are different than others, like in our case, even with our best ever 911, we were one of the first lifters to go. We were pretty close to what we would train on E505 for all of our attempts.
Oh my
And
gosh. That's crazy.
that helps us,
Yeah.
where
Well,
where
because you
my
trained
buddy,
for it.
yeah, and we're
Yeah.
used to that. So when people are like, "Oh, I'm
Yeah.
up already," we're like, "Well, we're used to this." So and that
Yeah.
actually, I think that actually benefited us. But like in Chad's case, Trey, because it's rising bar, he made a monster jump from, like, I want to say 926 or 931 to 990. He had to wait 29 to 32 minutes between attempts. What do you think happened? Missed
Yeah.
the attempt. So
Yep.
that's where you have to
It's too long.
remember, like I was talking with Chad, that's one of those things where, hey man, one of the things we have to remember as a coach is, when you do rising bar, you got to adjust your attempts so you don't make that big of a jump, because your guy
Right.
may be sitting too long. Like for
Yeah.
me, we went from 830 to 850 to 881. So we made a big jump early, but because so many guys were still opening up over 880, we only had to worry about a couple of guys. Like the first two guys that we had to worry about, they actually did their first two attempts before Tom did his first one. So they had already
Mhm.
been two attempts. So then those guys and one other guy go in between Tom's second and third. So that's five,
Yeah.
like I said, 5 minutes. And then Tom only had two other guys before he went to 911, which was about 5 minutes. But when you got to wait 29 minutes,
That's
that's
too
not
long.
good. That's not good for you. And like Chad was like, should I have gone in the back and done like 650 for one? I said, yeah, I mean, that works. So sometimes with Olympic lifting, it's a little different with powerlifting, where,
Yeah.
hey, go back in the middle, take 650 and then come back and pull 990. You're
Yeah.
better
No.
off adjusting your strategy and splitting the
Yes.
difference and saying, hey, And again, I'm not saying this is right or wrong. Hey, instead of 990, go to 960, and then the next one you can go to 1,000 and win the event.
Right. Yeah. Talk to me about average versus peak.
Yeah,
I'm
that's my
sure some people kind of gloss over that, right?
yeah.
But I'm
Well,
sure there's some
there's
people that are interested. Yeah.
there's a lot of people interested now because if I showed you video of Tom deadlifting and
Oh
Tom
yeah.
squatting and
Oh
Tom
yeah. No, I've
pressing,
seen the videos. I've seen the
yeah,
videos.
that's a different intent. And I think
Yeah.
and here's what I would say with this is I still think, and I'm still working with people to figure this out. I'm going to have probably just keep it as an ebook because it's a work in progress. But I'm going to have a manual out shortly on just the beginning understanding of why we're doing what we do
Yeah.
and why I think peak has value even in what we would consider absolute strengthless. A lot of it is mental, and a lot of it, our assumptions are formulating to be what would become truths, and now we could call them a method or a theory. So one of the things that we're using terminology wise in a lot of this is because it's not legitimate research, this is what I would call practice-based evidence, what we're seeing on the practice
Yeah.
field,
Yeah.
and what some people would call anecdotal research is we're not calling what we're working on working hypothesis because that's not truly what this is because of how we're collecting our stuff. So for us, we're calling all of our guesses performance assumptions. Like
Yeah. I like that. Yeah.
and this is a term that we're using, and we have 7 of those, but the biggest ones where you can get a framework is this. And this is noticed out there. First of all, regardless of the charts, all charts don't speak the same language. If you dig deeper, what lifts created that chart? What was the clientele that created that chart?
Right.
And again, use it as a framework, not an absolute. I think you know this. A lot of people now with velocity-based training are using those charts as absolutes. Like this
For
is the
sure.
cure all end all. It's not, nothing
Yep.
is. That's what I'm speaking overseas on. There are no absolutes.
Yep. Yeah.
They're just not in train. Not, and I kept on going and I just hey, I just started doing this like 3.5 years ago in my own training because I was looking at what's missing, and again, like I've told people, I'll be the one that takes the hit, and everybody's like, he's full of this because I've done it twice already with the tier system in block zero, and we all
Right.
seen where that turned out,
For sure.
right? Like
For sure.
so, if I've got to be that guy, then I'll be that guy, or I got to be that person and we put a team around. I've got a legitimate team around us now that
Yeah.
are supporting these assumptions. But let's look at it from the simple standpoint of mental approach. Okay. So we live in a world now where data collection and technology are super, super efficient and very, very accessible compared to the way we used to collect data.
Right.
So much so that if you ask me, what do you know about sports science? I would tell you I know enough to know that the majority of it should be called performance analytics because we're
Mm.
collecting data and you need a math major and an engineer to figure out some of the formulas
Right.
that we need to get things done. But also with that, there's been a change. I think there's been a change of nomenclature and terminology and how back in the day we would address what me and you may call a linear speed day and a lateral speed day. Now you hear max velo day and max ACell day, right?
Yep.
And again, I know there's a
Yeah.
lot of other, but those are things that I've seen that have become common terminology in this day and age on social media. Hey, today's a max velo day. Well, that's a linear speed day.
Right.
It's
Right.
like what Bob Haleo always says. Tell me what it is, and I'll tell you what we used to call it.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah. I love that.
So if you look at it from this standpoint, from a mental approach, so you're an athlete and you know tomorrow's a max velocity day. You know you have a different mental approach to understanding what max means.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
running fast, okay, but yet we're gonna build this framework of building max velocity up, but yet then I'm gonna go right from my max velo day into a weight room to train average velocity on a squat, and then we wanna talk about how squats don't have any value, Well, and this is where a word that I've really become really understanding how you thought you were doing this, but you weren't. And this is where the term intent comes. A lot of people started using this word of intent, but I don't know if we were actually doing things intentionally, if that
Mm.
makes sense.
Yeah. No, it
And
does.
and I also think for me now it's about purposeful.
Yeah, yeah,
What's
yeah.
the
I like
purpose
that.
of this? And
Yep.
again, we can talk about bilateral squatting is a very generic, general movement pattern. And where does it fit in athletics? Well, if I train the way I'm training now, it has a lot to do with applying force into the ground.
Mhm.
Because if I
For
train
sure.
with what allegedly is real purposeful intent of, like I just said, moving the bar regardless of load, that's the key.
Yep.
Regardless of load and
Yep.
regardless of what you see on that number, as hard as I can and as fast as I can, you will see an increase in force.
Yes, for sure.
And if you improve the force, I mean, I know I don't want to speak out of turn and sound uneducated because Brian Mann is now talking about momentum a
Yep.
little bit. But if you improve force through heavier weights and move it with the intention and purposeful intent of violent aggressiveness, all those average numbers that people are basing off of are going to rise. That's what
Yeah.
we've seen. Like you're
Yep.
going to move heavier weights faster, and all that point 0.5 is now going to be 0.58,
Yeah. Yeah,
0.60.
sure.
And why wouldn't I want that? It goes back to the whole premise of most people know if you're going to use velocity based on Olympic lifts, you're going to look for peak.
Mhm.
Well, if my intentions are to use squats, deadlifts, and presses with the same goal that I have Olympic lifts, why aren't I tracking the same metric?
Yeah. Man, those videos you sent me a while back, I don't even know if you remember sending me those. But when we first started talking about this and your boy was front squatting, I don't even know, it was like 585 or something crazy. And seeing the intensity, like you said, the intent behind those lifts, I was like, yo, this is a different level. This guy is not just trying. I mean, we've all had those workouts where you're just trying to get through the weight, get it. Okay. But no, this guy was trying to like just destroy the weights.
Yeah,
Like I
and
felt
now
like
and
the
he's
intensity
way
was
better
different.
now. Yeah,
No,
I
I'm
can show
sure.
you some stuff.
I'm sure.
So I have a specific what I would consider we call it pivot because we're making a pivot in theory. And Justin Lima, I don't know if you know Justin Lima, Dr. Justin Lima.
Hmm.
When we were talking about it, he called made the best statement ever. He's like, "Oh, you're taking the governor off,"
Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah.
and I'm like, "That's in the manual." Like he made the manual with
Yeah.
that
That's right.
quote. He's in there. So again, I know, and this is where like Eric Cash at Dorman High has been using peak for over a year now with just straight weight and Prilipin's chart. Whole different collection. Because even like Prilipin's chart, if you study what Prilipin did with his chart, he was telling you that that's the set and rep ranges that you will not lose speed.
Yeah.
Like that's why Prilipin's chart, like I keep telling people, if you're training for hypertrophy or repetition method, you're not gonna use Prilipin's chart. Like,
Right.
and
Right.
that's why, like I tell people a lot of times, why again, the reps in reserve. Well, you know what in Prilipin charts the reps in reserve are? The next set. It sets you up for
Right.
the reps in reserve is the next set. And
Right.
that's where you have to have restrictive and really definitive rest times to make that work. And so there's several other assumptions like the amount of force applied. Like for example, in combat sports, if I'm training an athlete for peak intent velocity in everything we do, and then another athlete with the same KPIs is training in similar grinding out rep fashion, and again, I believe in stress and strain. You're gonna have to but you're going to stress and strain in PIV and pivot training because the loads keep getting heavier. Like
Yeah. Sure.
we're not tracking, oh, drop the load, it's bar slowing down. No, we keep raising the bar to keep fighting to drive heavy weights as
Right.
fast as you can. And that's the
Yeah.
key. It's the number. We have some baseline numbers. I don't want to get into that, but once you get like we have the way we have it set up is with Tom is we have threshold sets and we have push sets. So the threshold sets, you have a minimum goal of 1.0 meters per second. And everything we do is climbing sets for the
Yep.
2 push weeks. So the first 3 sets are going to really look like dynamic effort. And that's why at first I called it dynamic effort with a regime push. Like you would do some dynamic effort work and then, hey man, go off the script and rip them.
Right. Right.
So now we set the parameters of we're going to do 30-pound jumps. So what we do is we have what we call the last prep set, what people would call warm-up set, is what we call the affirmation set. That set is going to be the same load that you would use for set 1. So say my goal is to use 315 for 5, and say this is week 1, we're trying to build our data collection. And based off what we know, hey, let's go 315. Well, I'm going to do my last prep set at 315 for 2, maybe 3 reps. For me personally, I only need 2.
Yep.
And if those numbers come out to be peak velocity at 1.5 to 1.2, then I'm pretty much in a good start.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so then I rip through 315, and my goal is all 5 reps have to be over 1.0. But regardless of that, I'm going up 30 pounds.
Yeah.
And then I go to 345. Same thing. The first 3 sets, 1.0. I rip through that. I'm going gravy. All 5 are over 1.0. Up 30 more pounds. Now I'm at 375. Same thing. The third set is the last, what we call threshold set, where there's a number attached to it. Boom. I get all 5 reps over 1.0. Now we go to the fourth set. The fourth set is an interesting set because if you started, it's okay to start light.
Yeah, sure.
So if you start light, that's okay. But let's say you did start light. So now you go to the 4th set. Now you're at 405. Well, if you rip all 5 reps over 1.0, now you have to do a 6th set.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're getting 2 push sets where you can't go 1.0.
I got you. Yeah. Yeah.
But now say the 4th set, that 405, you had 4 reps at 1.0s and the last one's at 0.9, then you don't get a 6th set. You got to go 5 for 5. So the goal is 15 out of 15. And even if the last set of the threshold, you get like a 0.9 at the reps 3 and 4 or 4 and 5, that's fine. But the goal is you're trying to set up numbers where, hey, dude, we want these 15 reps. You want to go 1.0, 15 for 15.
Yeah.
Then the push sets, it's like, I don't care what you do. You're going up and we're going to get some. Like, you're going all out ballistically crazy. So then you take that data and I'll show you how it all kind of this 3-week wave winds up very interestingly when it comes to like volumes without the load. So now we do 5 sets of 5. Now I got the data. So now that data is going to specifically script the next times 8x3.
Okay.
And the truth is those first 4 sets may be very identical in the 8x3.
Yep.
But remember now, you're going 4 more sets of climbs.
Sure.
So you could get up to, and you stick with the 30. Once you've created the 30-pound jump, it's a 30-pound jump for this. So say we did 315, 345, 375, 405, 445 was our 5x5. And all of those hit with good numbers. Well, the 8x3 could be like, we'll just use that for example. It could go 315, 345, 375, 405, 445, 475, 505, 535 for 3.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
And then, so now the last week is what I consider the toughest week, and so has Tom. So now you got these 2 big push sets.
Yep.
And it's the most mentally taxing thing I've ever done. It's very hard, especially I'll piggyback this back. This is for high level people, and you have to use accommodating resistance. There is no F, ands, or buts, and everything has a pause.
Okay. Wow.
In this particular stuff.
Yeah.
That's the key. It's a lot of break the eccentric concentric chain, stay
Yep.
rigid, apply force, and let's go. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
now we do other things like traditional no pauses. We went through a no pause cycle with chains, but
Yep.
in this specific high level kind of elite upper echelon strength training method is specifically this is specifically an accommodating resistance training cycle with pause reps. So now I study both weeks.
Yep.
And then the last week is our it's a little different chase. So now this is a 12 by 2 with stable weight. And now our goal is we're shooting for like 1 2s. So
Okay.
now the goal is 24 reps at
Yeah.
1.2. So
Yeah.
now I look at all these numbers. And again, lighter is better than on this one. It's almost like a deload week, but 12
Sure.
doubles at the same week, because I'll tell you how the rest intervals work, is tough.
Oh, I'm sure.
So that so that key, we've had a lot of success building strength with that. But now what I'll tell you is with that particular cycle, you can't do that week 1, 2, and 3. You have to do it weeks 1, 3, and 5. So it's an A week, B week type of rotation. You
Right.
will not, it will wear you out too much I hate to call people get so outraged. Central nervous system fatigue. I'm telling you, it's mental fatigue.
Yeah, sure.
So like
Sure.
you'd have to operate like 1 week you may want to squat that way, but you ain't squatting, deadlifting, and press. You got to be you got to
Right.
really play the waves on that. And so then but on the other week you could do say that was your squat. On the other week you could front squat for traditional sets and reps, but
Yeah, sure.
you still want to have the same intent. Like you're still doing it, so it's a different. But the meat and potatoes of pivot training is accommodating resistance on that cycle. It's not necessarily percentage based yet because it's very much based off of speed.
Yeah, sure.
Well, the 12 doubles is now I'm trying to figure out what's the right load to do 12 doubles with the same weight with a 1 point. So now you're really trying to rip it, and
No,
that's even
absolutely.
harder. So if you look at those 3 cycles, here's the similarities of it. So you have 5 by 5 is 25 reps of work with the rest interval. You're starting the last set at 20 minutes.
Okay.
The next week is 8 by 3, 24 reps of total work, and you're starting the 8th set at 21 minutes. And then the last week is 12 by 2, 24 sets of work, and you're on a 2-minute rest. So the last set comes at 22 minutes. So you're all this work is really within the same amount of reps, the
Yep.
same time period, but just different stressors.
Yeah. No,
And
I love that.
then when we turned it over, like Eric Cass sent me an athlete that he had the year before. He sends me a guy squatting 505, traditional 505 max. A year later, same kid 565. He looks like he could do 600.
Yeah. That's cool.
And they're using percentage based, no accommodating resistance. So we're trying to get that. And Mark Hoover, who is a huge proponent of VBT and using averages, he's now seeing what we had discussed about if you emphasize the peak, you're going to change the average. And
Yeah,
now
for
he's
sure.
seeing that again. And again, the good things are he uses a different technique than I would as far as training, but the numbers are showing what we wanted to show, that there's value utilizing peak
Yes.
because it's changing the game with the average. And Eric uses it a slightly different way with technique, and he's seeing the same things. And then I have this specific way that we're using it with accommodating resistance, and then with pausing, and that then accommodating resistance without pauses, which is a whole different. But the good thing is we're just tracking, like there is no chart. Like there's no
Right.
chart to this.
Right.
There's never going to be a chart. My thing is though, can we at least get some basic understanding of knowing what certain loads fit in different percentage ranges and what that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like I know over already what the high school guys are finding out, that with straight weight at certain percentages, chasing that 1.0 is hard.
Sure.
Like in the bench press, because the range of motion isn't as great.
Right.
And if you, and because of the VBT device I use, what you should see is if you are training with the right purposeful intent, that peak velocity score should finish at a high level of where you are. Like you should be hitting that at like the quarter squat of a squat or higher.
Mm. Yeah.
Like we have on our VBT that we use with the guys that I work with, we have a column that says peak velocity percentage. So we know where in the lift, like in
Yeah.
a
Yeah. Yeah.
like in a squat for us, it looks like now the goal is that you need to hit that about 85%.
Yeah.
If you hit it too short, you've already slowed, you're in decel. And that's the thing
Yeah.
that helps separate it from compensatory acceleration training is you had to decel the bar without accommodating resistance. And
Right.
then with accommodating resistance, you can stay in A-cell longer. So it
Yep.
really served a good purpose to what Fred Hatfield, and all this is in the book. Like we talk about compensatory acceleration, maximum concentric acceleration,
I love
accommodating
it.
resistance. We're putting it all together out there to give. I have a full chapter we have on research on pushing, improving force by training with intent, maximal intent, concentric acceleration, regardless of load and what it does to force. Now, a
I
lot
love
of
it.
it is through Olympic lifts, but it's giving our performance assumptions validation because, again, I'm not training a squat or a bench or an overhead or a deadlift, put size on.
Right.
I'm putting
Right.
on to
Yeah.
move, I'm putting it on to move the bar as fast as I can,
Yep.
and to lift as much as I can, as fast as I can. Like
Yeah.
that's just our goal. And even like Tom, we were laughing because his 881 flew. We were like, man, imagine if we had our rep one on that. Like, man,
Right.
what would that have been? Because his last two, like I knew this. I knew at 605 in the prep sets in the back area, in the prep area, I walked at him and we had to take excuse me, no, was it 605 or 675? One of those two lists, because we had our last two preps were 725, 775, and then we went and opened at 830.
Yep.
So it was either 605 or 675. When he pulled that, I looked at him, I go, you pull every rep like that from here on out, you're going 3 for 3.
Yeah.
You're pulling over 900 today, bro. And
Yeah.
and sure enough, we probably were good for 921, 5 more K. And I mean, in there, but I'd rather in those types of events, every rep, but 5 more K wouldn't have gotten us any more points.
Yeah.
And as well as he pulled, I would hate for them to, you're going to miss and you're going to fail on other events. But on an event like that, man, I'm looking for you to hit a PR and go 3 for 3. The
Yeah.
fact that
For
we
sure.
hit 2 PRs, so there's again, I'm not here to tell you, oh, don't look at average, because what I've learned specifically for me, if I ever got back into team coaching, I know specifically how now, if I'm going to train all my athletes by utilizing the peak purposeful intention of peak, really allows me to utilize the average to know where I can go with this guy. So for
Mm.
example, if I'm looking at the end reps of a set of 5 or the end reps of a set of 3 or even a set of 1, but
Yep.
if I'm looking at that, I can tell you, again, everything's in a pretty close way. How much more weight I could add or how many more reps he could do.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
So it's been a really, what's been a really good treat is when people like Quincy Johnson and Dr. Andy Fry at the Jayhawk Performance Lab believe in what you're doing.
Yeah.
When
For sure.
I talk to Fight on the mental part, believes in what you're doing. Because here's the key too that I tell people: if you really want these kids to understand what purposeful intent is, don't allow them to see their scores. Now, that'll be hard for a lot of coaches to do because a lot of
Sure.
them use it for motivation. But the
Sure.
key is this: how many times have you seen kids chasing the number instead of chasing what the movement should look like?
Yep. Yep.
Right? Like for example, how many kids would short the pause if they knew their first rep wasn't the real goal that I wanted?
Right.
Or short the depth, or bounce a
Yep.
bar off the chest, or
Yep.
or their technique's terrible, but because they hit the score, you're happy. No, it's about you still got to be efficient. So the best way to be efficient is you worry about the lift, I'll worry about the number.
Yeah, I like that. I like
I
that.
mean, and again, in this day and age, the way every damn equipment company, ours included, builds stuff to attach to the rack so you could put a iPad up.
Yep.
It's not conducive to that, but I would tell you, if you want to build a more purposeful intention, take the number out of it. The numbers for your evaluation,
Right.
and get them to understand the mental approach of it's just like this, right? Isn't your goal when you play sports that every snap I take as a football player should be an RPE of 10,
Yes. Yeah.
regardless of fatigue? Because
Right.
your intensity of effort, RPE score, should always be 10. The amount of physical capability you can give at every snap of the ball should be 10. Well, if that's the case, there should be a meaningful understanding when we talk about you've heard me say it, transferable traits. And I always say the number one transferable trait is confidence,
Confidence.
because I
Yep.
don't really know what's transferring or not. But I know this: if we're going to train for max velocity and max acceleration, I better be training for max something in the weight room to get better at that too.
Yes. I love that, man.
Well,
I
and
love
I, and
that.
I don't, and I don't necessarily agree with the individuals who, and this is where there is a little bit of I probably would say a debate with the coaches who use what I think is called volume velocity degradation. Degradation, is that how you say it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Where like if they have a certain parameter punched into their machine, if that guy goes below that score, it adjusts the load.
Right.
No, no, you got to work harder when you're tired.
Right. I
Oh,
like that.
this goes back to what I'll be talking about overseas too. In my there are no absolutes practice based evidence is everybody's crying now. We're in the age of minimal effective dosage, right? But here's the problem: some of these dudes are using zero effective dosage.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, again, I'm not. This isn't me. Hey, I know what I see. Like I've been out of it. I've been watching from the 30,000 foot view now for 6 years. I can see what's going on, and it's a challenge. I mean, I get it, man. Team sports, professional sports, everybody's teetering, right? Where's
Yep.
the risk reward? Where's the
Yes.
risk reward?
For sure.
Well, no, everything we do is a risk.
Yeah.
Stepping out of your car, stepping like me. Try to watch me walk down a flight of stairs. That's a risk every step. The big doggy might be going down, man. Like, it's just the way it is. And these are things like I tell people all the time. Hey, when is somebody else going to be willing to put themselves out there and take the heat?
Yeah, for
And,
sure.
and then we want to know why we get caught up in redundancy and
Yeah.
everything. It's like, hey man, I'm not afraid to do a paradigm shift again. I told that to Quincy. I said, look, man, let's go reshape the world and let's add another paradigm shift to the way people train.
Yep. No, I
It's
love
not for
that.
everybody, just like I don't do Olympic lifts. I throw med balls. I do jumps. Hey, man, I'm not just telling you there's something to it if you give it a chance. And then for those who are, high level thinkers in the average game that have done enough, written books and have done enough of their own practical based evidence and data collection with their athletes on the average game, put it to the test. I think it will make your averages. It'll change the scales and this understanding of where your averages fit. Like, who doesn't want to move 80% faster on set 10 than they did 2 weeks ago? But
Right.
if you go in volume degradation, or God, I can't say that word,
Yeah.
of
You're saying
of
it?
velocity loss, and we're gonna just hey, sports isn't played that way. The ball doesn't get lighter, and the person you're going against at the line of scrimmage isn't going from 290 to 260 because you got slower.
Right. Right. I love it.
And
House,
that's the
man.
thing with the force stuff, like the force production. If me and you are the same person, and I train for pivot, and you train the same, it's typical grind it out, and we hit the line of scrimmage, we're going to have that quick yielding, right? But
Yep.
who's going to win the battle? The guy who understands how to apply force better, or the guy that's just going to sit there and play static hold?
Right. Yeah. No, I love it,
I mean,
man.
there's all kinds of stuff. And again, you do the same, man. Like you rebuild your models, you rethink it, and it's like I said, it doesn't change who you are. Like you're the R7 guy, and that's legit programming. But what you do within that R7 is, I bet you, a lot more different than what we did
It's
when we
always
were presenting
changing.
on this stuff. Same
Oh,
thing with
yeah,
the tier system. The tier system is never gonna. The template's the template. That's just the way it is. But what goes into that template is way different, man.
for sure.
It's a whole different can of worms.
For sure, man. House did not disappoint. Not that I expected you to, but man, where can my listeners find out more about you? Where do you got stuff these days?
Shoot. Well, like I said, I launched that new book, and not that I'm pumping it, but I mean, I guess I can pump it a little bit.
No, you can pump it,
Uh,
man. We're gonna put it in the show notes. So
yeah, Conditioning for Strongman. It's got an ebook version and a hard copy, and although it says Strongman with another chapter, it could have easily have said Conditioning for Offensive Linemen. But
yeah,
like I said, that the stuff on capacity, and we didn't even talk about EMOM training, but the stuff on capacity, I think, has a lot of merit regardless of sport. And just some of the concepts that you could, like anything else, if you read it and it stimulates your thought to think differently on how you condition, then I won. Like,
yes,
then it's a win for me. And then, like, we're working on this pivot. I've got 5 drafted chapters for the new tier system book. That one's gonna be a beast. Like,
yeah, that's
that one,
awesome.
that's the last one, and that's gonna have my thoughts on how I would develop a high performance model. It'll have block 0. It'll have some
Yeah,
of the stuff we talked about in all those coaching presentations I did
oh,
at our
yeah,
seminar. So
yep.
it's gonna be the big one. Like, it could project, I don't know, like, I don't wanna overthink it, but it could be somewhere with all my charts, it could be easily 300 plus.
Oh, wow,
It's
let's
gonna,
go.
I mean, it's the last, but you know this, we've talked about this now for what, 10 years. I've missed a boat on that. Like, you offer I've missed a boat on the search stuff, the
Yeah,
webinar stuff and things like that. And again, I have the wherewithal and the time to get it done, and what's available for us now when it comes to editing and putting things in formats for us. That's definitely helped a lot of things. Keeping it in my authentic voice is super crucial. So
yes,
how I present things has to be, I want it to be, not street talking big house, but
right.
like like me at a presentation, how does that vibe feels and how can I present that to the written word? But yeah, so the website is actually, I'm trying to figure out how I want to really streamline it, where it's primarily has my articles, my store, my event calendar where I'll be speaking at. I'm just trying to update that. I'm going to take a lot of the video out and pump that back into YouTube. I'm going to try to
Yeah,
push the YouTube stuff. And then primarily, my primary social media outlet is Instagram. I don't really mess with Twitter because I think there's too much
nonsense.
Twitter. Yeah, I mean, I don't get some of these guys. It's like they always ask me, "Hey, man, why aren't you on Twitter?" I said, "Because 140 characters just isn't enough." It's just so. Plus, I like Instagram. It fits my who I am better.
For sure.
And then, like I said, I'm trying to get the YouTube stuff. I've been saying that for a while. I'm looking right now. I've said this for a while. My goal is to, at some point in time, open up a handful of spots for coaching.
Yeah,
I just think that I'm prepared for that now, and I have
yeah,
the wherewithal to do it. I don't have. It's not my main job, so I don't have to, like, hey, I'm going to put 100 guys on the same spreadsheet. I
right.
want it to
Exactly.
be, because you're going to have to pay, and let's face it.
Yeah, sure.
So I want to make sure that the person, whatever they choose, they can afford. That I give them exceed the value of what I'm giving them, and
Yes.
but that's hard. I mean, and then, continue to see where we take Tom and his journey in the strongman world. And I'll be at World's Strongest Man probably day 2 of the group phase, and for the weekend for the finals. I'm
That's
working with
awesome.
I'm working out the details of how I'll be there, and then I'll let everybody know. Probably be tied into a sponsor booth there, and then I'll probably, hopefully, if it works out, bring some books down and
Oh,
sign
let's
some
go.
books for some people as we go. But yeah, for the most part, I think you might remember this back when we first were doing podcasts and social media just started. And I was like, if you try to reach out to me on social media DMs and looking for jobs and stuff, that's so unprofessional. I'll never respond to that. And now most people go, "Hey, House, how should I get you?" I'll just DM me on
Right.
Instagram.
The world is different, man.
Yeah,
The
man. It's
world
like
is
I'm
different.
using Instagram as a go-to. So
Yep. Yep.
that's on me. I'll call myself a jabroni on that one because who would have saw that coming? But yeah, man, it's always a pleasure, Mike. Man, we've known each other forever. We definitely gotta figure out. I think a lot of people would love to see what we've come up with after what's it,
Oh my
almost 10
gosh.
years since the last one. Yeah, 10 years since
Yeah.
the last one. 14,
Yeah.
15, 16. Hell,
Yeah,
we could
man.
probably pull out the same one of the same itineraries and shock the world and speak on a
Probably.
totally different output.
Absolutely. I
Because
mean, that's how it
I
should
think
be.
those, yeah, and I think, and I mean, you tell me if you're wrong, if I'm wrong, but because you're still, I think, like clinics are kind of wishy washy, but these live, like boutique events
Yep.
seem to be pretty attractive to, especially
Yeah.
private sector coaches. That's never going to
Yeah.
change, I don't think, with those guys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's that your paycheck is directly your performance-based pay, right?
Yeah,
Private sector, if you're not getting better, somebody else is,
yeah,
right?
you're getting
So,
crushed.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, House man, this was amazing, dude.
Yeah,
Appreciate you
always a
as
friend.
always.
You're one of the best, Mike. Appreciate your time, brother.